Hello, my name is Kate and I'm gonna tell you about Valindra Shadowmantle, one of the villains in D&D universe. Valindra Shadowmantle is one of the main antagonists in the Neverwinter online game. She was also the Overwizard of the North Tower in the Host Tower of Arcane in Luscan, a member of Arcane Brotherhood, a moon elf and lich, a powerful sorceress who ascended from worst to first. Valindra can be found not only in the computer game but also in D&D board game, where she appears several times in the old edition in Neverwinter Adventure, in Epic Adventure where the adventurers confront the Thayan, and in the Tomb of Annihilation. But how did she come to all of this? What did happen to her? Is she well now? Let's figure it out. Valera is one of the key villains in the Robert Salvatore books and opposes Drist and his companions, first as a sorceress and then as a lich. Valindra was born in the year of the Winged Worm in 1225. In fact, it happened not so long ago from the current events. She is quite young, but still a dangerous antagonist. She was born a moon elf, so she had a lot of time to learn everything. She decided to study magic, but learning was not easy for her and was taking a lot of effort. Valindra left her native lands about 100 years later to find her own path and to reach unprecedented heights. Robert Salvatore describes Valindra in his books as a miniature elf with a beautiful body and healthy constitution, black wavy hair, and large green eyes. Around 1358, she left High Forest and fate brought her to Mirabar, a huge city which was the richest to the north of the Waterdeep. With her natural charisma and beauty, it wasn't difficult for Valindra to convince one of the local wizards to take her as an apprentice and teach magic. In the city of human dwarves, she realized how different her elf society was. Not being so welcoming, it struck her deeply, made her isolated, selfish, and focused exclusively on her own interests. With lust for strength and power, she killed her mentor a year after, in 1359, and took all of his spellbooks and magic items. Being very intelligent, Valindra never entered into open confrontation, preferring negotiation and subtle methods to brute magic force. Although she was ready for the dirtiest moves from poison to murder of an opponent if it would go to her benefit. After killing her mentor in Mirabar, Valindra realized that she would not achieve anything better in this city. After examining the stolen scrolls, she learned about the Arcane Brotherhood of Luscan, which held the entire city at bay and controlled the entire north of Sword Coasts. In 1362, she had reached Luscan and achieved a place among the Brotherhood, receiving the lowest rank as agent. In 10 years, Valindra has risen in rank there, performing all her quests with exceptional precision and accuracy. She became in favor with Arcane Brotherhood himself, who noted the talented young girl. Probably at the same time he secretly proposed to her, and Valindra, seeing this as her greatest opportunity in her lifetime, accepted. And lots of online sources speaking about them being together and being married, but I couldn't find the exact timeline where it happened. In 1371, when Arcane Greece decided to purge the Arcane Brotherhood due to the series of betrayals, deceptions, and intrigues, he appointed Valindra the Overwizard of the North Tower, who was in charge of the Brotherhood's interest in the northern Faerun and the Sword Coast. Arcane Greece gave the task of spreading the Brotherhood influence in the Silver Marshes to the new regional manager of the North, aka Valindra. The Silver Marshes were strategically important to the Brotherhood, but they were not in a hurry to put their foot there. Arcane Greece made a pact with a demon, and in exchange for the knowledge of obtaining lichdom, Greece agreed to extend the influence of the Brotherhood to the northern lands. The demons wanted to increase controls of lands and orcs who settled in there, thus destabilizing the economy of humans and dwarves. Valindra hired spies in cities and communities to gather information and also to spread Thayan dope that would cloud the minds of the population. She understood that it would be easier for her to establish Brotherhood governance if the society would be disoriented and corrupted by the poverty and drug trafficking. Probably that was the first actual time when Valindra made contact with Thayans, with who she will spend lots of time as a lich. In 1376, Waterdeep decided to finally stop the piracy and criminal activities of Luscan, led by the Arcane Greece and his Brotherhood. An open war began in Luscan, during which Valindra, who participated in the battle, was captured by her former colleague and rival, who deserted to the side of the Waterdeep. She was the former South Tower Overwizard, Arabes Raurim. Right at this moment, the host tower of Arcane exploded. Arcane Greece calculated everything in advance, and since he was not caring for any other lives, he chose the most effective and the most devastating way how to hide his disappearance into the demiplane. Roughly speaking, he just broke his Staff of Magi as a legendary item, and most of you I think know what will happen next. The broken staff released energy of colossal, unbelievable power and razed the tower to the ground, burying not only everyone around but the entire Brotherhood. Desperate, Erebus killed Valindra by stabbing her in the back several times until the Moon Elf stopped breathing. Arcane Grease was a lich. He survived by escaping to the demiplane and moving his quarters to the Ilisk, the city of the undead under Luscan. He found his dead beloved Valindra, who he also turned into a lich, creating the phylactery for her from the same precious stones that his phylactery was made from. The stones that were brought to him by Dracolich, who did the best to spread the influence of his organization in the city. Valindra didn't fully survive the transformation. Unable to cope with the fact that she was now undead, she went insane. For many years, Valindra was under the supervision of Dracolich and his organization, who were able to restore Valindra to most of her consciousness. Only sometimes, remembering the past, she again fell into nostalgic madness, beginning to tirelessly repeat the name of her beloved. The madness developed again over time. Every day Valindra was getting more and more dangerous and insane, aggressively responding to any request from her followers and also completely losing all interest to the lives of other living beings. For years, Valindra lived in Ilusk until the agents of Saz Tam, Dahlia Sinfele and Corvin Dorcray came to her. They were ordered to create the Dread Ring, which would absorb the souls of the dead and the magic around, and allow Saz Tam to gain divine powers through consuming this energy. Valindra became interested in the powerful Thayan master and helped the agents, naming the only place which she felt the power came from. The place was called Gontal Grim. To create the ring, Valindra needed a multitude of souls, which she wanted to gather by flooding the entire Neverwinter with lava, activating the old primordial fire elemental Maegera, located in the Hot No volcano above Gontal Grim, the lost kingdom of the dwarves. In 1451, she managed to do this, and the ring was established, fueled by magic of the primordial and death of many innocents. 11 years later, in 1462, it was completed. Consuming the magic of the primordial and the souls, the Dread Ring spreads its influence throughout the lands of Neverwinter, spawning more and more undead. Valindra's plans, however, were thwarted by Drists, Bruenor and their companions, who managed to seal the primordial for years, stopping the flow of magic into the Dread Ring, thereby destroying it. Valindra escaped from the battle and returned to Tay in 1478, but only to receive orders from Saz Tam to restore the Dread Ring again by enslaving Neverwinter. She sent her entire army to the city, but the siege was repulsed. Valindra did not participate in it, but only watched from afar, retreating when it became clear that the attempt was not successful. Actually, I find it very familiar to the Star Wars and all this Death Star story. Arriving at the site, Valindra once again united with the cultists of Asmodeus as well as the cult of the dragon, servants of Tiamat. Together, they began to build a fortress on the top of the previously destroyed Dread Ring. During the construction, Valindra understood why the location has been such fortunate for the ring in the past. The answer was right under her feet. In the bowels of the earth lay the mighty Dracolich Lorragaut, a great ancient black dragon in the past, and a very powerful Dracolich now. However, he was asleep, and in order to wake him up, Valindra planned to use the energy of the Dread Ring. However, this was not destined to come true, because the adventurers ruined her plans. Obsessed with creating an army, she decided to look for dragons and to turn them into dracoliches with the help of the transformation spell. She knew that the cult of the dragon had the spell and that they would be looking for the dragons for their own purposes too. Therefore, she would be able to intercept them and take everything she needs from them. Her spies found Azazel in 1484, a blue dragon hidden in the catacombs of the Neverwinter cemetery area, Never Death. Valindra obtained the blue dragon and the spell, snatching it from the dead hands of the cultists. After performing a terrible ritual, she turned the dragon into Dracolich, who took up the residence in the castle Never in Neverwinter. However, it was destroyed by the adventurers. Apart from Azazel, another blue dragon, Fulminorax, team up with Valindra, who helped Valindra and King Malabok in Feywild to destroy New Sharandar. Valindra Shadowmantle reappeared in 1486 in Chult Adventures, where she was tasked to take possession of the Acererak Cellmonger, whom Sastam wanted to steal in order to achieve divinity. He wanted to either get the device for himself or destroy it so the Acererak would not surpass him. Valindra followed the order by destroying the Inferno machine with the help of the adventurers, and then returned to Thay. How strong is Valindra Shadowmantle? In terms of lore, this is a fairly young lich with decent power, allies, and a couple of artifacts and a fairly amount of spells. She's also insane, which makes you unpredictable. I would say for the experienced character in Forgotten Realms world, Valindra is very formidable and dangerous enemy, however not lethal. For all the other mortals, the encounter will be fatal. Looking from the technical side, according to the 5th edition of D&D, Valindra is a monster with challenge rating 21, 17 armor class, about 100 or more HP, lots of resistances due to her being a lich, also 3 legendary resistances and a handful of spells, which also includes disintegration and power word stun and kill. You could meet her in one of the epic adventures connected to the Thayan wizards, where you should fight her and she has an adult dragon at her control, so I don't think that she ever walks alone or can be surprised. So I would say that for the poorly prepared party, she's a very serious enemy. This is where Valindra's story ends, and her phylactery may be anywhere, so we can see her again in the future. If you'd like the lore, press subscribe and like button and write me in the comments below who else you would like to hear about. And see you next time!